On. Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching and Self-Reliance You. Please remember that your life, your career, your dreams are all essential, and always, always, always bet on yourself. All right, be as self-reliant as you can. Would like to welcome my guest this evening, young man I met several years ago, gosh, going on 7, 8 years ago at this point. Levi Eisenhart, who I had the privilege of having on the wrestling team at Northeastern. Great guy, and just somebody that we formed a real good bond with. And welcome, Levi. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and anything else you'd like to share.
Hey, Mr. Law, thanks for having me. So basically, my life story I met Mr. Law in high school. During wrestling, he was a wrestling coach for me, and went through high school. Didn't really do anything after college except work, and still continued to have that relationship with Mr. Law. And basically what we're talking about today is how wrestling and just sports in general have helped me throughout my life, throughout high school, throughout after high school. So basically what I would like to say is the biggest thing is what wrestling taught me is discipline and how to push yourself through things that are difficult and whatnot. Some of the wrestling practice that we had, that Mr. Law can attest to, were not easy, were not fun, but has made me definitely a stronger individual, not just physically, but mentally also. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I've taken away from sports. Well, basically just wrestling in general.
Yeah, well said, Levi. One of the things that we try to emphasize as a coach, right now I coach the guys and girls tennis up until around the time you were in school. I was helping to coach wrestling there with Coach Mike Morocco and Coach Nick Vittori there in the high school, and
Right.
Coach Tom Kessler was coaching the middle school kids. But as you know, I think the practices were not easy, because our goal, as I was a 17-year competitive wrestler myself, college and beyond, as well as in high school. And the one thing that we were always trying to do with you guys was to push you, because we knew the competition was being pushed. And we know that beating a lesser skilled wrestler, yeah, you probably could get away without doing all that much. But to try to get you guys, the goal was to try to get as many of you into the districts as possible. And we knew that there was that's a tough road, and we had to have you guys as ready as possible. So I certainly agree with you on that. We did push you hard, and you guys responded well.
Right. Yep. And I probably can speak for a lot of other people also. It just didn't like you training us and coaching us. Sure, we did get better as wrestlers, but I also believe we got better as individuals also off the mat. Just from those lessons that we were taught, just those little things, just how to keep pushing ourselves basically, and just like encouragement and like positivity. And you have rehearsed with us a lot about mental visualization and stuff like that. So that applied to me personally off the mat greatly, with any kinds of goals that I wanted to achieve or whatever. I just had that mental visualization. A little small tip that you taught me during wrestling practice, I've carried that throughout my life and used that since.
That's fantastic, Levi. And what would you say is, since we're discussing the mental rehearsal visualization, because I applied it for any of the athletes that I've had. What was it about that you felt helped you the most? And basically we're referring to progressive relaxation to get you guys in a relaxed state, had you laying down on the mats. The lights were either out or very, very low. And basically then just kind of mentally go through, your different moves and everything. How did something like that impact you as far as your wrestling skills and ability?
So by doing that sort of thing, it would help clear my mind basically, and focus better on the goal at hand and what I needed to do, and how I needed to get it done. And it kind of helped me see a more clear path of the goal, by mentally visualizing where I want to be, and then focusing on that goal and how to get there. So yeah, that helped out. Like I said, I've done that even off the mat. just in life, just with work, with relationships, just at home also, like, oh, I want to get this project done. How do I get it done? What do I have to do to get there?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and again, being a young person as you are, Levi, it was ironic. About a week or so ago, I had a interview with a guy that I had wrestled with in high school, a guy named Mike Shaka. He lives out in Seattle, Washington now, and he's really gotten into music and everything along those lines. And he made a great point, where guys of our age, his and my generation, compared to, let's say, yours, that the number of distractions with the social media, the phones, the
Absolutely.
screens, there's
Absolutely.
just so many more distractions. And Mike,
Yes.
my friend Mike, made a funny point, and it was so true, because I've got three brothers myself. And my friend Mike said, our moms would get tired of it and say, just go outside and play. They just basically shove us out the house, middle of the winter, it didn't matter. This is Rochester, New York. So you get some pretty good snows up there. But
Yeah.
one of the reasons that these programs that I have, that I'm doing these interviews, is geared toward teens and young adults, because you guys, you're not little boys anymore or little girls. What you're doing is you're entering the real world. And if we can help you guys through mental rehearsal, visualization, go off into the silence, and then think about
Absolutely.
using your own mind to accomplish your goals, that's kind of the idea behind it. And
Yep.
so go ahead. Anything else along those lines that you wanted to share?
Not too much.
Yeah,
No,
I think you covered it pretty well. Now you were saying some of the lessons that you got from wrestling. Pushing yourself. You're absolutely push yourself through your comfort zone. You cut weight, to make a weight class or whatever, and physically, really push through a lot of fatigue.
Yes.
Why is it so important to go through and get through your a person's individual comfort zone, Levi? Why would you think so?
Well, for me, it was learning. My comfort zone wasn't very much comfortable with like pushing myself at first when I first started wrestling, maybe in like high school, like freshman year. And then when I started to learn discipline, I started to change a little bit and come out of my comfort zone. And it was just easier to do certain things once I learned how to discipline, how to just like act on things.
Mhm.
If that
Okay.
answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. And you also were a co-captain with another great young man, Peter Gordon-Neer.
Absolutely
And
phenomenal young man.
what's that?
Phenomenal young man.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And tell us a little bit about your relationship with Peter. As
Uh,
far as you guys are
Peter's
concerned.
relationship is pretty great. We don't really talk too much anymore, with life and everything. We're going down our separate paths. But in high school, we had it was our senior year. We were team captains of the wrestling team, and it was just a phenomenal year. Him and I are very positive, very outgoing, a very encouraging people. And to be a leader, you definitely absolutely need to have those kind of qualities. To be able to work with other people, have those people skills, and just communicate. Communication is like absolutely key. And our relationship in high school was just one of my favorites. We respected each other. We respected our teammates as well as our coaches, and that respect followed, because sometimes you have a kid or two or whatnot that doesn't really respect anybody else or respects the coach, and so leading by example. I believe a lot of the other people around us and in our environment followed in our basically in our footsteps a little bit, and it was actually a really cool, really fun year. Got along with everybody really great. Had a just like we pushed each other and our teammates, and in a positive way, not in any negative way at all. And it was just something really beautiful. It was awesome.
Yeah, there was a great harmony, great team chemistry, and everything. Which any of the teams that I've ever been on, Levi, that I've coached or been on, if you have good leadership in the room, such as we had with you and Peter, it makes the coach's job that much easier, because you guys can kind of just lay the verbal timber down on somebody that needs, you know, a little, hey, straighten up type thing, you know, and you guys did a great job on that. How about if you comment a little bit about Coach 𝙎𝘼𝘾𝙄𝘼, and let's start with Coach 𝙎𝘆𝑘𝘄𝑼 and what you have to say to him, because I'm going to let these guys know that, you know, we were chatting them up a little bit when once we get done with this. So, but what about Coach 𝙎𝘆𝑘𝘄𝑼 and the impact he had on you?
Definitely a positive impact. I love those two guys dearly, and I'm very blessed and lucky to have had that relationship with Mike 𝙎𝘆𝑘𝘄𝑼 and Nick 𝙎𝘼𝑖. For wrestling wise and coaching, it was really great. They definitely knew what they were doing. We didn't do the best, just because our program wasn't exactly the best, but either way, they did a great job. They did their best, and we still always had fun on top of working really hard, like going for runs, running up and down the stairs in the halls, you know, just like sweat, like, and just must filling up the wrestling room, just dripping from us. And then at the same time, we would typically sometimes end the day with a game of dodgeball, and I'll never forget dodgeball. That was definitely really fun, absolutely fun. And that's a big part of sports and everything, because it's supposed to be fun. It's almost a game, like you know, basketball game, you know, football game. We don't have games in wrestling, we have matches. But still, it's to have fun. It's to you know, get better and enjoy doing what you're doing, whichever sport it is. And they definitely taught me that also, like joking around with me all the time, joking around with Peter, me and Peter joking around with like everybody, on top of it being serious also sometimes, because that's also important. But having it a little bit like lightened up definitely boosts morale and positivity and happiness, basically, because when you're not happy, you're not gonna function as well, I believe. But when you're happy and you're having a good time, definitely I've noticed I personally seem to work a lot harder and have a better time doing it, and not so like negative, like, oh, I don't want to do this, blah blah blah. So just like that positive attitude and just like joking around is absolutely huge in any kind of sport or training environment.
Sure, sure. And Coach 𝙎𝘼𝘾𝑖 and Coach 𝙎𝑘𝘄𝑼, you know, they did a great job for sure. And they're so different personalities, you know. 𝙎𝘼𝑖, I mean, you talk about the dry sense of humor. I mean, he is, oh my goodness, he is so funny. And Coach 𝙎𝑘𝘆𝑖 is in his own way too, but those two guys are so different, you know.
Absolutely agree.
For sure. So anyway, what advice, Levi, and I always like to try to get to this point where, as far as a teen, you know, junior, senior, young adult, what advice would you give them going forward, whether they're going to go on to college, whether they go in the military, whether they go into the world of work? What thoughts or advice would you give them?
Well, there's lots of thoughts and advice that I have personally. I think what I'm going to say, the biggest thing is, what I've learned is, when I get stressed out, anxious, you know, upset or anything, because that kind of thing happens in life. You're working with somebody that is difficult to work with. You have a test or something coming up and it's like difficult to study, or whatever kind of obstacles you go through in life. The biggest thing I encourage people to do is try to relax, just take a deep breath, hold it in, let it out, and just think about, like I said, mentally visualize, think about what you want to do and have a positive and clear mind about it and how you're going to accomplish that task. That's helped me out the most. So I'm still practicing now, just taking a deep breath and trying to take a step back from things and think about, like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. Instead of like complaining or being negative about the situation you're in or whatever is going on, my biggest thing to say is, it's not as bad as it seems. Like, things will get better. You will get through it. And as long as you keep a positive attitude and eventually visualize where you want to be, and keep that idea and morals or whatever inside your head and close to your heart, and just pursue that.
Mhm. Well said. I would be remiss, Levi, if I didn't bring up your incredible family. Now, I don't know your two older sisters as well, or your brother. I don't think I've ever met your older brother, but obviously
Right.
I know you and Becca and Jacob, very,
Yeah.
very well. And I've always been a big fan of the Eisenhart family. What do you have to say as
Mhm.
far as your family's concerned? Your mom and dad and siblings and everything.
Well, my whole family's been extremely supportive. We're all very loving and like just there for each other.
Mhm.
Especially my parents. They've been through a lot with me. I haven't been the most behaved individual, but they're very supportive. They're very kind. And same with my siblings. They're all very hardworking, have a great work ethic, very caring and loving and thoughtful. And I just absolutely am very thankful for all of them.
Right. Yeah. Very well said. And they are incredible. I've been on Cody Reeser a little bit about trying to get me, your sister to do an interview because she's obviously doing very successful as far as, being a nurse and everything. So maybe you can ask her about it, give her my contact information. We can set up an interview, with her. I love to do that just because of, the pathway
Absolutely.
she's been on and everything. So,
Yeah, definitely another point of view because she is pursuing career in the medical field.
yes.
So I'm sure she has some advice for whoever else is doing that also.
Yeah.
And she wasn't wasn't into sports too much, but either way, you don't have to be into like sports and do that kind of thing to, give advice to people
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely. Yeah.
share her.
She's been on a real solid career path. Well, Levi, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate it. If you could just hang on when I stop the recording, that would be real good. Just hold on.
Yep.
Again, just a reminder to anybody watching this, please subscribe to my channel, Playing It Forward Coaching, for a lot of other good interviews with guys like Levi Eisenhart and a number of the other people that we have on here. Again, that's geared toward teens, young adults, and or anybody else, but especially that age group, and definitely want to see them do well. So thank you so much, Levi. I do appreciate it. Hang out here for just a minute, okay?
Anytime, coach. Thank you.
Yes, sir.